So at the end of part 3, we watched a government propaganda video from the 1940s. What did you all think of their portrayal? The video touched on the special military units that served in the war, so I wanted to go over the significance of the 100th Infantry Battalion and the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. These units were primarily composed of second-generation Japanese Americans, or Nisei, and the 100th was formed in Hawaii and included those who witnessed the attack on Pearl Harbor and wanted the chance to fight for their country. The 442nd was made up of men who volunteered or were drafted directly out of the internment camps. The 100th was eventually absorbed into the 442nd in Europe, and the soldiers became known for their extreme bravery, valor, and dedication. They saw heavy combat and sustained major casualties in Italy and France, becoming the most decorated unit in U.S. history with over 9,000 Purple Hearts awarded to around 4,500 men, meaning soldiers were sustaining multiple major injuries in the line of duty. The 442nd did not receive as much recognition for their acts of heroism when compared to their white brothers in arms, and many were even met with racial hostility upon returning to the States after the war. Hawaiian Senator Daniel Inouye, who lost an arm while he served in the 442nd, shared about an incident after he was discharged from a military hospital. While in full decorated uniform, he went to a barber shop but was turned away for being Japanese. The barber simply said, "You're a Jap, and we don't cut Jap hair." Pivoting back to the internment camps, a loyalty questionnaire was issued by the government in 1943 to distinguish the loyal Japanese from the disloyal. This was not only a slap in the face to internees, but also a trap set to justify the internment order. Questions 27 and 28 were very difficult to answer for many people, and they feared that answering yes to 27 meant automatic conscription into the military. The real trap was in question 28, however, which read, "Will you swear unqualified allegiance to the United States and forswear any form of allegiance or obedience to the Japanese emperor?" This question was problematic for the first-generation Issei, who were legally barred from becoming U.S. citizens. If they answered yes, that meant they were renouncing their Japanese citizenship, which would make them stateless people. Second-generation Nisei also found this question problematic because answering yes implied that they had been loyal to the Japanese emperor in the first place, thereby giving the government grounds to justify their internment order. Those who answered no to both of these questions were deemed disloyal and became known as the no-nos. No-nos were gathered from the various camps across the country and sent to Tule Lake in California, which became known as the segregation camp for disloyals. In response to the no-nos from the loyalty questionnaire, Congress passed a public law which became known as the Renunciation Act of 1944, allowing U.S. citizens for the first time to renounce their citizenship during times of war. Many believe that this was a move to give the government a legal reason to deport people to Japan. Some Japanese Americans did renounce their citizenship in protest to the government's outrageous treatment, while many others felt pressured to renounce so that they could stay with their Issei family members, who were more likely to be deported. Several Supreme Court cases also came out of the internment period. For the three listed on the left, the justices ruled that internment was constitutional on grounds of military necessity. Korematsu v. United States actually came up in the 2018 Supreme Court case Trump v. Hawaii. Hawaii and several other states challenged President Trump's Muslim travel ban, which had used Korematsu as precedent. The judges finally overturned Korematsu, which had not been legally repudiated until this point. It's somewhat hard to believe that the Korematsu ruling still stood until 2 years ago. The case on the right, Endo v. United States, ultimately decided that U.S. citizens determined to be loyal could not be further detained in internment camps. This helped lead to the closure of all internment camps the following year. Here's a brief timeline showing what happened with the camps at the end of the war. So in August of 1945, the 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Japan, leading Japan to surrender the following month. The Western Defense Command then revoked all exclusion orders, and most camps were closed between October and December. In March of 1946, the Tule Lake segregation camp was finally closed, and the war relocation program ended in June. I wanted to show this video of an internment survivor sharing his experience with a group of kids who I think ask some really good questions. Again, I'll include a link to this video in the description box below for those who'd prefer to watch this directly in YouTube.
Were you a spy?
Was I a spy?
Yeah.
At 8 years old?
I was thinking that too, like 8 years old. I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't even have a credit card. Hello, my name's Crystal. What is your name?
My name is Shokichi Tokita. I go by Shokes. Can you say that?
Schultz. So why are we here today?
We're going to be talking about what happened to me and my family when World War II started. Do you recall which countries the United States was fighting against at that time?
Yes, Germany, Italy, and Japan.
Right.
I'm actually learning about that right now. So.
Oh, you're learning about it
Yes.
now. Okay.
Yes.
In 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Have you heard of Pearl Harbor?
No.
Pearl Harbor is in Hawaii.
Do you remember it clearly?
Oh, yeah. I sure do. A lot of turmoil at that time. Since the U.S. was at war with Japan, there was a lot of frightened people in America about the Japanese people, thinking that they might turn against people in the U.S. And so the Japanese people were placed in concentration camps. When you talk about camps, what comes to mind for you?
Camping. Like the one with s'mores. Were there s'mores at your camp?
It was not that nice. You know what barbed wire is?
It's the stuff that goes like that on the top of it.
Oh.
So then when you try climbing, you would just get really hurt.
Yeah, they had barbed wire all the way around the camp. And they had guards making sure that we didn't get out of camps. And you know which way the guns and machine guns were faced?
Way towards the camp.
They were faced in towards us.
Yep.
We were considered prisoners.
Well, you didn't do anything bad.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So then why would you be in prison?
Because the war was with Japan, and I'm Japanese.
Because you're Japanese.
Yeah.
This is my question. Why didn't they put Italy or Germany? That's kind of weird.
They're weird?
Because, like, if you just put one country in, it's really not that fair.
The main reason is that a lot of the Germans and Italians are white like you are. But you're not all white.
Yeah.
You're part Japanese?
Yeah.
Oh.
A quarter, though. Would I have been put in the camp?
Yes.
Oh my god. That is sort of racism.
Yeah.
That is really racism.
That's exactly what that is.
That must have been so unfair for you guys.
It was. Mm-hmm.
How many people were at your camp?
There was roughly 10,000.
10,000?
Mm-hmm. You call it internment camps, but I called it concentration camps. And you know what the difference is?
I don't know exactly, but I know that the concentration camps in Poland and Germany where the Jews were, they were death camps.
Yeah, we were not put to death like they were. Yeah, a huge difference there. Nevertheless, these were camps that were set up for the Japanese who lived along the West Coast. The camp that we wound up in was Minidoka.
Where is that?
It's in southern Idaho. These camps had a whole bunch of barracks. They were long barracks. My family had to live in one room.
How many siblings did you have?
I have 7 siblings.
7?
My brothers and sisters were all younger than me.
Could you imagine having 7 Kristens?
No, I'd lose my mind. I can barely even stand one.
And when we first went into our room, there was about 3 or 4 inches of sand in the whole room. So my father got us cardboard and other things so that we could shovel all the sand out of the rooms. And then, you know, these barracks did not have bathrooms, did not have a kitchen, did not have any running water, and we had to go to a different building to go eat. We didn't have any furniture, so my father got us a big box that he put on the floor, and that was our dining table. We sat on the floor, Japanese style.
How old were you when this was happening?
I was 8 years old. How old are you?
8. How long did you have to be there?
3 years.
Usually when I think of camp, it's like maybe a week or so. But 3 years? That makes me think of torture.
My parents were very angry because we lost our business, we lost our home, we lost the car.
That would be all waste of that money, and that would be ruining other people's lives.
Oh, yeah.
Did the U.S. ever apologize to you and to the Japanese?
Yes, they did. President Reagan signed an apology to the Japanese people that were put into camps, gave us a stipend of $20,000 per person who was in camp.
Do you think it could happen now?
Yeah, it could happen. In fact, have you heard about the American Army going over to the Muslim countries to fight?
No.
Well, they're doing that right now, and there's a lot of resentment against the Muslims. It's a racial profiling that has to be stopped. And in our community, a group called the Densho are trying to make sure that that doesn't happen to the Muslims like it did with the Japanese during World War II.
That would be scary.
I'm speechless.
Well, it was really nice to meet you, Shokes. I feel so sad for what happened to you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Shooks.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming, and I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks for watching Kids Meet. If you'd like to learn more, check on the link down below.
As Shokes was alluding to near the end, it's crucial for us to see the connections of the internment ordeal with the actions and attitudes of our country in the present day. This will be addressed in our next videos. Now I'm going to hand it off to Ayana, who will be covering the aftermath of internment, its legacy, and the social work considerations. Take care, everybody.